everybody, and welcome back to a brand new edition of the Odds Honest Truth. It is championship weekend in the NFL. It's the AFC, the NFC championship. And what I think we're coming off of the greatest weekend in football the world has ever seen, definitely I've ever seen. Every single one of those divisional matchups were incredible. I forget exactly what we threw out there, but I feel like spreads-wise, we were pretty spot on last week.
We were good on almost every bet we put out last week hit.
Yeah.
I think we were off by like 3, but we ended up giving out like 20.
So definitely listen along. Definitely bet along with us. You can follow us on Twitter at Seagorb94, at Coda522, and of course at Odds Honest Truth. And make sure to like and subscribe everywhere on the In the Money Media Network. Helps the show out greatly, and let us know how much you love listening to Odds Honest Truth right here on In the Money Media. So, Rich, let's kick things off right away in the AFC Championship. To me, this is the game I'm looking forward to the most of the two matchups. The Rams and the 49ers is another great game. It has the potential to be a bit of a dud, but these two teams have faced each other a couple of times this year. They know each other well. They've had some fun games in the past. I think that'll be good. But, man, oh, man, the Chiefs are just coming off of, I think, the best football game I've ever seen. The Bengals are looking incredible. They had a huge upset in Tennessee, a last-second field goal to win it, and all the swagger of Joe Burrow and my boy McPherson. This is a really, really fun championship weekend. Let's kick things off in the AFC. Cincinnati Bengals on the road in Arrowhead Stadium, the loudest stadium to play in. It's a 7-point spread. The over-under is set at 54.5. Both injury reports are looking fairly clean. I just Googled before the show, Tyrann Mathieu participated in practice. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
that's huge.
So, both of these teams are at full strength. They played each other a couple of weeks ago, and due to some great help of the officiants and sloppy play, the Bengals did win this game outright a couple of weeks ago. But they're the 7-point underdogs. Let's kick things off with talking about the spread, and then, we can jump into whatever debate you want to go to from there. But let's kick things off. 7-point spread, Chiefs Bengals. What do you like?
After last week, it's no surprise. I'm rooting for the Bengals because I have been since the beginning. You always want to have the underdog, take it all. What I will say is I think that the AFC is going to win the Super Bowl. If you just look at the 4 teams left, I just feel like if anything, you learned this year that offense wins championships. And it's crazy, but you just look at these teams. The firepower of the Chiefs right now is insane. But then you got Joe Burrow, who is one of the biggest up-and-comers right now. This game should be really fun. I think it's going to be high scoring. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a revenge game for the Chiefs. It came down to that 1 yard. If Joe Mixon would have gotten the end zone, would this been a different game? Could the Chiefs come back and tie it? The officiating, like you said, it kind of decided that last game. So for me, I'm rooting for the Bengals. Do I necessarily want to, bet the spread? If I'm betting one way, I think I would go Chiefs -7. I think they're white hot right now after last week, coming back, saving their season with 13 seconds left. To me, I think they have a lot more on the table right now than the Bengals. And the Bengals have one of the best offenses, that you can see on paper. But again, it's Mahomes, it's Tyreek Hill, it's Travis Kelce, and pretty much no one else. But they don't really need anyone else because they got those 3 crazy players. On the other side, you got Joe Burrow, you got Chase, you got Boyd, you got Higgins, you got Mixon, you got Uzama. But they're banged up on the offensive line. They're banged up on the defense. So it's the right teams got in. I'll put it that way. I really believe that the right teams got in. These are the 2 teams that should be in the AFC Championship game. But if I'm betting spread, which I won't, I think it's going to be -7 for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I really like your breakdown of this game, and I think that when you look at the Bengals-Titans game last week, Joe Burrow was under pressure from Jump Street the entire game. And I think that's going to be huge in this game if the Bengals want to keep pace with Patrick Mahomes and this Kansas City Chiefs offense. Now, the spread is at 7. We were just talking about this before we went on. In my opinion, when you see an absolutely incredible, breathtaking performance, it usually cools off a bit the next week. It's very hard to keep that level of explosiveness, that level of perfection week to week. I think the Bengals showed room for improvement off of last week's win, and the Chiefs cannot physically perform better than they did last week. It's just not possible. And the Bengals did win this game outright last time. It was a very close game last time. I don't imagine that this is a full 7-point differential. Even if this goes to overtime again and there's a walk-off touchdown to win, I just don't think that it's going to be more than a 7-point victory. So I like the Bengals plus 7 here. I kind of don't want to pick who will win this game because I think it has the potential to be one of these thrillers that we saw last week. I think it can go back and forth. I really like the over here. I think both teams are very capable of getting in the end zone 4 times. That's not unheard of to me. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I'm very excited for this one. Hopefully, both QBs show up to play. The only thing that I'll say is the Chiefs are definitely in their prime, and I think the Bengals might be a year or two away from that. So I'll leave it at that. I think they can cover 7 points. I like the over. There's a couple of really fun specials on Caesar Sportsbook that we've talked about over the past couple of weeks. But before we get into those, what are some player props and angles that you're looking at in this matchup?
So the one clear-cut bet that we thought was so easy last week is one that actually didn't hit. Joe Burrow over 1.5 passing touchdowns. So I think that's going to hit this week. If you're just looking at it, they have to keep pace with the Chiefs, right? So, it's just a matter of how they're going to score their 28 points or whatever it takes to beat the Chiefs. Just looking on paper, Joe Burrow, it's gonna be a revenge game, I think, for Mixon. I think that 1 yard, and he just was so angry after the game that I think it will be a bit of a revenge game for Mixon, but I don't think Mixon's going to score any more than one time. I do have Mixon scoring once. I think that he'll have an anytime touchdown at minus 106. But if I'm betting something clear cut again, which I guess we said it last week and didn't hit this week, I'm even more confident about it, is that Joe Burrow over 1.5 throwing touchdowns, minus 190. If you look at the Patrick Mahomes line, that's a little riskier. I mean, he's at 2.5. He can do that in his sleep, but this Bengals defense, I think they're going to try to eliminate either Tyreek Hill or Kelsey, the way of the Belichick, essentially. You saw last week that, Clyde Edwards-Helaire can, he can run the rock a little bit right now. He's healthy. He came back from that injury. You got McKinnon, who's doing nice things for that team. So I think it's going to be more of a balanced game plan this week. So I don't know, Craig, what do you think? 2.5? Would you go over or under? If you go over right now, you got plus money.
I feel like I'd take the over. I feel pretty confident that Mahomes would get 3 touchdowns this week.
Right. I think that's plus 115, which is, I mean, you're doubling. You put in 25, you're getting like 52, which is, great.
I mean, I just think that's going to be the way this game goes, and I think that, like when you look at these two teams coming off of last week's wins, which I think is probably the fairest assessment. We could go back to this last matchup that these two teams had, but let's just go back to last week. Mahomes was in a gunfight the whole time, and he delivered, and he was slinging balls left and right. Burrow was in a little bit of a different game. That was a grittier matchup. The defenses were on fire for both teams. There was turnovers, that was a grittier football game, and the Titans are a grittier football team. And I think that, I imagine this is going to be a lot more like the Chiefs-Bills matchup from last week. Both quarterbacks are going to have to play well if they want to win, and they both want to go to the Super Bowl. So I don't see a scenario in which, both of these quarterbacks don't throw for at least 2 touchdowns. I think Mahomes will throw for 3 because I just think that they're more of a passing attack. That's kind of the Bengals have a better ability to balance the football. They got Mixon in the backfield, a little bit younger and experienced quarterback as well. So they try to balance it out a little bit more. Let's take a look at some of these specials on Caesars because there's an angle that keeps popping up on most of these that I think is interesting. And the Jamar Chase touchdown is in pretty much all of these. And at least off the top of my head, I'll need to confirm this stat. I don't believe Jamar Chase has scored a touchdown this offseason.
Yeah. I mean, I think I bet on him every week, and I haven't seen green in my account, so it's pretty good inkling there that he has not scored. Yeah.
He has not scored since having 3 touchdowns against the Chiefs.
Well, now's the time then, right?
So, when you look at his numbers too throughout the season, this is kind of par for the course. He'd have a couple of cold games where he'd have yards, but maybe not get in the end zone, and then get in the end zone a bunch. So maybe this is the week where that happens. And if that's the case, there's a couple of specials on here I like. Mahomes over 299 and a Jamar Chase touchdown. Again, I think this is going to be a real shootout. That's at plus 280. I saw another one before. Chiefs to win and Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase to both get in the end zone. To me, that's another one that just seems really likely. Again, if it's going to be the shootout, I think Tyreek Hill is going to get in the end zone. You had a chance to look over some of these. Is there anything else on this list that you like?
I mean, honestly, this week I'm kind of looking a little safer because there's only 2 games. So I mean, what I'm focusing on is player props, which there's a lot of fun ones. But I mean, I'll let you finish up specials. Is there anything else on there that you like?
I like this one here, plus 600. Burrow over 299. I think both quarterbacks will get to that 300 mark.
Wow.
Burrow over 299. Okay. Joe Mixon and Travis Kelce to both get a touchdown. 600. Plus 600.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to debate it in my head for, a couple of days and then forget about it. But I think I enjoy that one. So, Rich, to recap this game, I like the Bengals plus 7. You like the Chiefs minus 7, which means you think the Chiefs are going to win and advance to the Super Bowl.
I do.
To me, the jury's still out. I can't really pick a winner. I just feel confident that the Bengals can cover 7. I think this is going to come down to whoever has the football last again. I think it's going to be a lot like that Chiefs-Bills game. So, I'll throw something out there, and I'll just say screw it. I've been picking them all season long, and they haven't disappointed me too much. I'm going to pick the Cincinnati Bengals to advance because, I don't know, I'm just a big Burrow guy. That's been my logic all season long, and it hasn't failed me often.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with either outcome. I mean, honestly, the way that the playoffs are set up right now, this is the first time that I can remember where I'd be happy with any of the 4 teams winning.
Well, it's just so great to not have Tom Brady.
And Aaron Rodgers
once again.
Sure. Yeah.
To not have Big Ben. It's officially the new era of the NFL.
Yes,
and it's great. And the veteran that's here in the playoffs is Matt Stafford, who this is his first time ever in the playoffs. I mean, it's just amazing. Or maybe it's his second. Did the Lions make the playoff once?
One time, but this is the first time he's ever won a playoff game.
Yeah.
So
against Tom Brady, a passing of the torch, if you will. So listen, I just think this is like the most fun NFL offseason that I remember in a while because the past couple of seasons, you just knew it was the Brady show. It didn't matter. And this is refreshing. I like it a lot.
Refreshing. But to kind of add on, I mean, this is the new era, but I think Joe Burrow is going to throw an interception. I think, I needed that lead in. That was perfect. Thank you. The odds right now are minus 130. I think, he's going to throw one. There's going to be at least one errant pass. I don't know if Mahomes throws one on this one. I mean, he has plus odds in this. I think he's going to play a very clean game, so I wouldn't touch that one. If we're just going down the list, my easiest bet this week is Mixon. It's always Mixon when it comes to receiving yards. It seems like he can do it in 2 receptions. I mean, if you're looking at his reception yards, I think it was at 22 last week, right? First pass of the game, he got 21 yards. So, I mean, for me, over 27.5 for Joe Mixon is a slam dunk. My guy, Uzama, I love CJ Uzama. I think he's an up-and-coming tight end. He's over 35.5, minus 110. Really like that. If you're looking at receptions, I like Joe Mixon over 3.5. I mean, I think last game he had 2 on the first drive. CJ Uzama, we talked about it last week. It was iffy if it was 3.5. He got his 4. I think he's going to do it again. And then just Jamar Chase, I think, is going to go over 5.5. I mean, like you said last game, he had 3 touchdowns. So for me, he's going to find a hole in this defense to kind of exploit. And then just go on the Chiefs side of the ball. I like Travis Kelce over 76.5. He's just the man. I mean, in the playoffs, he's everything. Tyreek doesn't seem like he's 100% yet. And like we say every week, we don't really know which other wide receiver to trust. If I was going to go with any wide receiver, I would go with Byron Pringle. I think he's kind of separating himself from McCole Hardman at this point. He's at 37.5. I think I feel comfortable at that. McCole Hardman also went over last week. He's at 25.5 this week too. If you think it's a shootout, I mean, you could really go kind of down the board on this. I wouldn't be mad if you did McCole Hardman 25.5, Byron Pringle 37.5, Kelce 76.5, and then Tyreek at 77.5, because all those are logical things. As far as receptions, I think I like Kelce to go over that 6.5, and that's plus money. He's just going to be a security blanket. He always is. Dump it off. That's all you got to do, and he just takes the ball off. And then, last week, obviously, the toe tap for the winning score there. And then you guys know how I am with kickers. I love kickers.
I was about to say, please tell me you're about to talk about these kickers.
These
might be 2 of my favorites in the NFL.
I mean, yeah, you got to just look at how clutch they are. But I'm not doing extra points for both. I'm going to do extra points for Harrison Buckner. I think that, the Chiefs getting 3 touchdowns is a foregone conclusion, right? But I'm going to go field goals with Evan McPherson because there's a trend going. He loves to kick a field goal. He did it last week against the Titans. He did it against the Raiders. He's at 1.5. I think that's easy money. I think both sides. If you want to parlay Bucker, 2.5 extra points, put Evan McPherson in there for 1.5 field goals. I think, again, it's like $100 to win 310, which, I mean, we said it last week and it hit. That was my, I think, bet of the week, which is kickers. And people are like, I don't want to bet kickers. You would have tripled your money and walked away with $300. So I'm not against betting interceptions. I'm not against betting kickers. It's just easy money is fun money because then you can use it for your next bet and maybe go a little crazy. So there's a lot of good bets in this game. Let's hope for a high scoring, fun game with little to no defense. Those are my kind of games.
Well, I think we might get it too, because both of these defenses can be a little Swiss cheesy at times. So I think this should be a fun one. I'm excited to watch it. Kicks off at 3:05 p.m. I got confused last week. I thought the game started an hour earlier than they did. And so I was all in position. I had my snacks ready. I had my beer in my hand, and we weren't there yet. I was just off by like an hour and a half. So I put the beer back in the fridge. I put a lid over my dips, and I watched one more episode of Friday Night Lights, and I called it.
Well, that's football. Okay. And you're watching football before football. It's a pregame show.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's going to wrap it up for our coverage of the AFC Championship. Let's take a little break from the NFL. We have some NHL and some NCAA basketball action with Thomas Crincoli and David Dubovi, and then we'll come back to break down the NFC Championship. Fellas, take it away.
What's up, guys? This is Tom Crincoli for Odds Honest Truth, coming at you Friday, January 28th, 8th, 2022, with some NHL action for the evening. Little different today. I am, as you can see in the background, I'm a Rangers fan, but we're going against the Rangers. Henrik Lundqvist's retirement night against the Minnesota Wild. This is going to be my first play of the night. So the Rangers, I did some research on this because I had a feeling it was true. And the Minnesota Wild are rolling right now too. So it's not just a superstitious narrative play here. I do like the Wild a lot. The Rangers will be coming off a back-to-the-back. But on retirement nights at Madison Square Garden, the Rangers currently sit at a 2-4-4 record. And the only 2 wins they have on the 10 retirement nights came in overtime. So I don't know if it's emotions being high. I don't know what it is about them not being able to get it together when they have a historical figure get retired on that Garden ice. But they suck. They're not good at it. So I'm going to go Minnesota Wild money line, and that's going to come in right now at -115. Lines might change depending on who's in net. Obviously, Shesterkin over Georgiev will give you a better line for the Rangers. But go Minnesota money line. We're going on that narrative. We're going off that back-to-back. We're going off the Garden emotions being high. And then the other thing I'm going to do, since 6 of the 10 games that have been on retirement nights at Madison Square Garden have gone into overtime, let's take the game 3-way into overtime. You're going to get that at some pretty high odds. I mean, it usually sits around plus 300 odds on DraftKings. So if it's around there or above there, sprinkle a little bit on there. Let's keep riding those overtime games for Garden retirement ceremonies. So we'll take Minnesota Wild money line and game to go to overtime. Sorry, Rangers. For my second pick of the night, Boston Bruins at Arizona Coyotes. Coyotes, clearly not a great team. Bruins just lost the Avalanche in Colorado, and it was not a pretty sight for them. That was one of their biggest tests of the season, and they just came up short against a pretty good Avalanche team. Expect them to be a little pissed off going into this game against one of the worst teams in the league. Maybe dominate them, get a road trip win out there, and then come back to home and be smooth sailing from there. They cannot afford to lose these 2 points against the Coyotes. So if you even want to ride that 3-way money line on the Bruins against the Arizona Coyotes, think that's a great play as well. Always watch for goaltending. I think the favor is going to be Tuukka Rask versus UC Valimaki, I believe, or whoever else might be playing for the Coyotes. But again, I like the Bruins here. I think it's a pretty straightforward pick. Take them -1.5, maybe take them 3-way money line. Not going to get a whole lot of value out of the normal money line. Okay, and then my last pick for this evening is going to be the Washington Capitals versus Dallas Stars. Over 5.5 goals. We got 2 prolific goal scorers in Alex Ovechkin and Joe Pavelski starting to both heat up right now. I mean, they've been on fire all season. The goaltending here, if Jake Ottinger is in net, I think I'm just a Jake Ottinger fanboy. That may make it a little less enticing. This is why this is my last pick and not at the front of the line. But if Braden Holtby goes up against Vitek Vanacek, I think it's a pretty good safe bet to have that over around, a 4-3 final here. So final picks being Minnesota Wild on Henrik Lundqvist jersey retirement night at the Garden. Take the money line. Next, we'll go over to Bruins -1.5 or the 3-way money line. And then my last pick will be the Washington Capitals and Dallas Stars to go over 5.5 goals. Those are my plays for Friday night. Hope you guys take them. Hope you ride. Hope everyone wins. All right. Thanks, guys.
What's going on, everyone? Back for another week of NCAA bets. Here are 3 games to keep an eye on this Saturday. First off, we got number 12 ranked Kentucky versus number 5 Kansas, Battle of the Blue Bloods. Kentucky coming into the 16-4, Kansas 17-2. Should be a great game. I think it's going to be a really good defensive battle, but some really good offensively as well. I'd probably go Kansas here, but it's a toss-up, I'd say. Probably the over as well. Next up, we got number 4 Baylor versus Bama. Baylor is 18-2. Bama's 13-7. I got Baylor here. Bama's coming off a tough loss. So I'd go Baylor, like I said. And then I'd also hit the over as well. Lastly, we got a Big East battle. Xavier versus Creighton. Xavier's coming to this ranked 21. Xavier 14-5, Creighton 12-6. Should be another great game in the Big East. I got Creighton here in the upset, and then I also go under as well. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you so much, guys. We are back to talk about the NFC Championship game, the night game, kicking off at 6:40 p.m. I like this adjusted night game schedule for the playoffs. I like that they're games, and even with last week's incredible game going to overtime, it was done by like 11, and I took a shower and I went to bed like a human. It was, and I was all riled up from the game. It didn't matter because it was over at an appropriate time. So NFL, maybe do something with that. I don't know. You're gonna look at the overtime rules anyway. We're not this not that kind of show. We won't talk about that. But while you're there, consider my bedtime, please, and adjust Sunday Night Football to kick off at 6:40 p.m. Why not? Who cares about prime time anymore? It's not a thing.
Television 4:30 games, play out how they're going to play out. People can jump around.
There's only like 3 of them most of the season. No one cares. Yeah, that's the direction the show is taking tonight. Let's talk about this NFC Championship game. It's the San Francisco 49ers. It's the Los Angeles Rams. It's a 3.5-point spread in favor of the Rams. And there's some wonky stuff happening with the tickets and allowing San Francisco fans to SoFi Stadium. To be honest, I haven't been able to follow that storyline very well, but I know there's some restrictions around the ticket sales to keep SoFi Ram friendly. But all of that being said, Rich, I look at the performances of these two teams last week. The Rams tried really hard to lose that game in the second half. They did everything in their power. And you know what? They still got the win because when it mattered, they knew what they had to do to deliver. This is an all-in team. We've talked about it over the last couple of weeks, but they're 100% all-in. They have no draft picks. They have no money. If they don't win this year, they're not going to win any other year. You look at a team like the 49ers, and they've sort of fallen into this position in a weird way. This was a team that was getting ready for the next step. They drafted Trey Lance. They needed to win outright to make it in the playoffs. They had a great game against the Rams to make the playoffs. They weren't supposed to beat the Cowboys. They beat the Cowboys. They weren't supposed to beat the Packers. It's a 2-degree game in Green Bay, and the defense does some really good stuff and keeps them in the game despite Jimmy G not throwing a touchdown. And they win that game. And here they are now. They're 3.5-point underdogs. And this is a very hard game for me because I really like both of these teams. If you go back and listen to this show over the past season, I talked about how much, one, I've been a Jimmy G fan for a while. I've been a Stafford fan for a while. I really like the defense. We bet Debo Samuel every way to Sunday. These teams, these 4 teams are the teams that I think you and I have bet and talked about the most on our show this season. And then maybe like the Detroit Lions I throw every single week. But these are the teams that we talked about pretty much weekly. So this is a lot of fun. It's a 3-point spread, I think, or 3.5-point spread. I think this one is going to be a little underwhelming compared to the AFC Championship personally. It's a 46-point over-under. I kind of see this being the under. I think this will be a grittier kind of defensive matchup. There'll be 1 or 2 big offensive plays to win it. And in my opinion, I think it's going to be on the Rams side. I just don't know if the 49ers offense has enough left in the tank to be making those plays. Maybe it was the cold, and maybe they'll bounce back and have a really good game in the California weather. I just don't necessarily see it happening. I think the 49ers the Rams are about 5 points better or so than the 49ers. So I like them -3.5. They're built to win now. They need to win now. They're going to put pressure on Jimmy G. And Matt Stafford's going to make those big plays down the field to Cup. when he has to, in opportune moments. They won't be marching all up and down the field. So take a look at the player props. We'll talk about them in a bit. I'm inclined to go with a lot of unders in this game. But what about you? What's your analysis of this one? Do you think we'll see some more fun offenses? What do you got going on?
I mean, for me, this is going to be more of a defensive game, like you said. I mean, I like the under as well, but I think I like the 49ers plus 3.5. I mean, even if they don't win this game, I think it's going to be a relatively low-scoring game. To me, the 49ers are like the old school Giants. They snuck into the playoffs, and Eli Manning,
it's a great comparison.
Comparison. Yeah. When you fall into something, it's nowhere but up, So for me, I mean, the pressure is on. Jimmy G knows he's playing for his job. So I would love Jimmy G to have that hero arc. They go to the Super Bowl winner. You have a quarterback controversy. Is Trey Lance going to come in, even though you just went to the Super Bowl? I love the intrigue. I love the players on the 49ers a lot more than I like the Rams players. I mean, Deebo Samuel, Kittle, Jimmy G, Eli Mitchell. I mean, this as a team, I really like the 49ers.
Their defensive line's incredible too. I mean, there's just talent across the board.
Bosa's a beast. I mean, Trent Williams on the other side of the ball. I mean, there's a lot of good players on the 49ers that I want to root for. I love Cooper Kupp, and obviously Matt Stafford deserves a there's just something about the Rams that I was like, I don't like them that much. But there's a lot of good bets.
That's what you don't like that much. It's Odell.
No, I like Odell. I mean, like I like that he kind of just resurrected his career. I mean, he could be the first touchdown scorer every single game. And I mean, if you bet him a couple times, you hit every single time. I mean, he's definitely playing for that next team if it's not the Rams, which I don't think it can be the Rams because they don't have any money. So this is an audition, and he's making the best out of it. But just overall, I don't know. I like the 49ers as a team. Just you have a feeling about a team. You love the Detroit Lions, I guess. I do. In this scenario, honestly, the Bengals would be mine. But 49ers are close second here. So
listen, I can't disagree. I too have great affinity for the 49ers. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I just also have great affinity for Matt Stafford. And this is a tough one for me to even pick because I like both of them. But I cut you off. Please continue.
Well, that's a perfect lead-in, Craig. You can pick both of them in our odds boost section. The odds boost that I love the most out of anything this week is the first one. If you're on Caesars Sportbook, Cooper Kupp and Eli Mitchell each to score a touchdown, and that's boosted to plus 275.
Oh,
it's going to be hard for that not to happen. I feel like, if you're just looking at, the trends, Cooper Kupp's going to get it, Eli Mitchell, he's going to be the go-to because, Deebo Samuel came off the field as a little injured last game, and Kittle came off the field a little injured last game. I think they definitely rely on the run. Eli Mitchell is questionable, but I feel like he's questionable every week. That's just who he is as a person. So, I love that bet. Plus 275, you're getting a lot of, good value for your bet. You're the special guy, but I mean, is there any special that kind of jumps off the page? Or are you going more player props with this?
I'm probably leaning towards the player props in this one. For my betting this week, I think I'm going to focus mostly on the AFC Championship game. Yeah. Watch this game a little bit more for fun because I think it'll be a little bit more of just a defensive slugfest. So, if I'm going to real quick kind of take a look at some prop angles, I'd really you mentioned some injuries as well to guys like Deebo and to Kittle. I would take a look at maybe like a Brandon Ayuk to have over. He's currently at 50. I think he'll probably have a little bit of an elevated role. And, I think he can probably get you 65 yards or something along those lines. But who are some plays you're also taking a look at?
I mean, if you want free money, Matt Stafford over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I mean, there's no way around that. It's minus 220. So, I mean, you're not making a ton of money back, but it's free money. So, I mean, if you want free money, there's your free bet. I also really like him over 279.5. I feel like he's just the 300-yard king. That's just what he does. Jimmy G, I don't know. I think they're going to rely on the run a lot this week. So, I mean, his line of 232, I could see it being 230. I could see it being 235. Like, this is not a line that I would actually bet on for him. Interceptions, I feel like they're both going to do it. When you just have a feeling and you're like, let's throw both quarterbacks in. When you parlay both quarterbacks together, it makes it a lot better. Jimmy G is going to Jimmy G. It's just a matter of when he's going to do it. So Rams have one of the best defenses in the NFL. 49ers have a really good defense too. I would parlay both of them. Jimmy G's minus 140 and then Matt Stafford's minus 110. And just kind of going down the board here. You said you like Ayuk as a receiving yards this week. I really like Juwan Jennings. He is wide receiver 3, clearly. But, I mean, 25.5 is kind of the safer line for me because that could be 1 catch. That could be 2 catches, whatever it may be. And then I like the over for Odell. Last week, I don't know why it was so low. This week it's 52.5. And like I said, he's on that revenge tour. I really like the Odell over 52.5. And rushing yards, they're really high this week. So, I mean, I want to throw that to you. The rushing yards for, what do you call it? Eli Mitchell, 69.5. Cam Akers, 63.5. What do you think about that?
I don't like Akers at all.
Yeah.
After how he actively tried to lose the football game last week, because I think he had money on Brady or something. I don't know. I don't like Akers at all. I think we're going to see a little more of Sony Michel this week or anyone else just running the football. Mitchell's tough for me. I think they're going to have to rely on him. So I'd be inclined to take the over, but I also just don't see this being a particularly high scoring affair. So I'll go with the over because I think he'll have a pretty solid game, but I don't love it, but I'll take the over.
Okay. And then what about Cooper Kupp, since his lines are always outrageous? This week he is over under 101.5 and 7.5 receptions. What do we think?
I'm going to have to look at what he's done the past couple of times against the 49ers. And that is the one nice thing about this being a divisional matchup is we can look at 2 other games this season and take some averages.
Yeah.
So last time around, Cooper Kupp had 7 receptions. He had 118 yards, and he got in the end zone. Remind me again what his line is for receptions.
7.5. So he was under.
He was under. I'm inclined. Let's look at the other game. I'm inclined to say he's probably under that, but I don't know that for a fact.
I'm gonna swap that. I think he's gonna be over 7.5 receptions, but under 101.5 yards.
And he had 11 receptions the first time, and I'm just kind of strolling here. It's rare he has less than 7, to be honest. So. I'm inclined to agree with you. I think it'll be the over for receptions. It'll be the under for receiving yards. While we were talking before, I found a special that I really like. Are you excited for this one?
Oh, I'm here for it.
This is the special. It is Eli Mitchell to get a touchdown and the Rams defense to get a touchdown.
That's a spicy one. What is the odds on that?
850.
I like that.
Plus 850. I'll throw a couple of bucks on that.
For sure. Yeah. Defensive touchdowns, I feel like, happen every single week. Obviously it happened last week with the 49ers against the Packers. And the Rams scored a defensive touchdown against the Cardinals. They already did it this postseason. So, I like that a lot. And Eli Mitchell, I think he's going to score because I put him in my Cooper Kupp one. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. I think that could be fun. I think you could see a strip sack kind of situation. Jimmy G's a little loose with that football. And so is Matt Stafford. But Jimmy G's a little loose with that football. And he had like a tear in his hand that I don't think is like fully healed yet. I love him. Don't get me wrong. I love Jimmy G. This is not a Jimmy G hate podcast. But He's a little loose with that football at times.
Explain to me one thing here.
Yeah.
Why are both kickers at plus odds to have over 2.5 extra points?
I cannot explain that. I don't know.
And the Matt Gay is going to have over 2.5 for sure. Yeah. I don't like it. It seems silly to me. Put $100 on that, you win over $200. So,
any other fun kicking angles in this one here?
Fun kicking angles. I mean, honestly, I think
what else we got?
I really like Robbie Gould too to go over 2.5. He's plus 130. If you want to parlay those guys, put a 50. Let's see what it is. Parlay Robbie Gould, Matt Gay. Let's put $100 on it because we did that last week with the Chiefs.
Wait, are you doing extra points or kicking points?
Extra points.
Extra points.
Yeah. $100 wins $460.
I'd consider the kicking points here because I do see this being a low scoring affair. I see this being mostly field goals, to be honest. And it's 6.5 points as the over under for both of them. I think that's pretty much a guarantee that these kickers will have about 7 points.
What are the odds on? Let me see this real quick.
It's not great. I mean, it's minus 115 and minus 140. I mean, you're not going to get rich, but
yeah,
I think it's likely. I think it's very likely.
If you want to parlay those guys, Craig's parlay, $100 wins you $365.
What if we do a 4-leg same game parlay, kicking points and extra points made, all overs? And by this logic, too, they're both going to have over 1.5 made field goals. So we might as well throw that into the parlay.
That is illegal, Craig.
It's right here. Why not?
You can't do it. It's illegal.
Why not?
Because it's double dipping. They won't let you do it.
Okay, that's fine. But 4 legs, this is a pretty good odds. I like it.
Yeah.
Legal.
It is. I mean, it is. You can't do it.
Terrible.
If you could do field goals and extra points if you want as a 4. $100.
Let me bet what I want. Who cares?
$100 wins $3,000. I'm just saying.
Shit, man, I might do it.
All right. So I mean, if you think the kicking points are going to be there, $100 wins $3,000. So not too shabby.
Not too shabby. Might be worth it. I'm gonna sleep on it though. But yeah, I think these kickers are gonna have a hell of a game. I really do. So I would take a nice hard look at that. Rich, any other thoughts, opinions, things you want to share about this incredible NFC Championship that I think I'll fall asleep halfway through?
Get the beer flowing for the first one and get the snacks flowing for this one, so you go into that nice little lull of a nap. And wake up to $3,000 with your kickers just kicking all the extra points and field goals.
Yeah, I'm telling you, these kickers are gonna have a good game. Really, I think all the kickers are gonna have a pretty good game because in the first game it's gonna be a lot of touchdowns and a key field goal or two, and then this one's gonna be a tight, gritty one. It's kicker palooza.
Yeah,
Evan McPherson has changed the NFL. He showed the NFL last week just how cool kickers are with his guarantee as he went out to send them to the AFC Championship.
Looks like we're going to the AFC Championship, and then kicking bottles off of cans. I mean, the guy could do it all.
This he's just too cool. That's why you draft a kicker in the 5th round.
Yeah,
that's the exact reason. There is a NFL underdog parlay boost, Rich, that I'm gonna throw at you because you didn't like the Bengals plus 7. You did like the 49ers plus 3.5. So let me throw this at you. Bengals and 49ers each cover plus 9.5, plus 150. It's not great odds, but it does expand that Bengals line a little bit.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean,
that's $100.
Okay, what does that get you?
I don't know. It's plus 150. I'm not good at math.
Okay, so it's like
100 wins you 250.
It's not. It's minus 150.
Plus 150.
Okay, yeah, sign me up for that.
Yeah,
kickers and cover. I like that. That should be our show name. Kickers and cover.
Kickers and covers coming to you soon in the Money Media Network.
I'm for it.
Anything else you want to add about championship weekend?
No, I mean, just gear up for this because next week is a stinker in the Pro Bowl that you could just sleep your entire Sunday away. So.
Exactly. So, according to you, we will have a Chiefs and 49ers Super Bowl. I don't know if you called a winner on the last game. You think the 49ers win outright?
What, for the Super Bowl?
To win the NFC
outright.
Championship.
Yeah, outright.
You think the 49ers win. So Chiefs, 49ers for Rich. And then I'm going to go with Bengals Rams.
Complete opposite.
Complete opposite. This might be the first or second time that's ever happened on this program. We usually think alike.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I'll say as a caveat, I think that shows just how good this playoff is in comparison to past years. Because it's been very rare that you and I, have disagreed on the outcome of a football game, just in general, specifically in the playoffs. And then additionally, they've been terrible games for years. And now I feel like we finally have a really competitive NFL with a nice influx of young talent. So we're excited about it. We're not excited for the Pro Bowl next week. We might take the week off next week. We're probably gonna do that.
We'll probably just have NCAA and some NHL. That'll be our show. We'll introduce it though.
Exactly. We'll do an intro and we'll throw it around the horn. But thank you guys so much for listening to this show this week and every week. Again, best of luck for championship weekend. It's going to be a real fun group of games. For Rich and everybody at the In the Money Media Network and Thomas and David and all of you, thank you so much. I am Craig Orbanoff. And until next time, allegedly, have a good